Tonight, a Newsnight world exclusive. Well, we will talk about that big idea from Labour and the rest of the week's general election news in a moment with Sonia Sodha, former advisor to Ed Miliband, and Rachel Cunliffe from City AM. First, take a look at tomorrow's front pages, and of course there is only one story dominating, and that is Newsnight's world exclusive interview with Prince Andrew. On the Times, the Duke I let the side down. He says he kicked himself on a daily basis for failing to cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein. And again, that line over, I have let the side down, I've let the side down, I've let down my family. Will be obviously more on that in the exclusive 1-hour interview tomorrow night on BBC Two at 9 o'clock. But for now, Sonia Sodha and Rachel Cunliffe are here. Good evening to you both. Let's turn now to the political weather during the week. One thing that moved the dial, Rachel?
Well, there's the Labour's nationalised broadband, which I think Sonia's going to talk about, but beyond just the policy, Brexit party, what happened with Nigel Farage saying we're going to stand everywhere? Suddenly, no, we're not going to stand in Conservative seats, facing a rebellion from the Brexiteers across the country. The Daily Mail's campaign, stand down candidates, backing down a little bit, but not quite enough.
And going on the attack against Downing Street, you know, threatening to bring the police in at one point.
The idea that because Brexit party candidates have been offered jobs by the government, that somehow is something to be upset about.
Did that sort of have a whiff on you to think of desperation from Nigel Farage? Because he and Richard Tice both pulled out in an event tonight. They're going to smaller and smaller halls.
Well, I think the wind has very much gone out of the Brexit party's sails. And I think this is always the danger for Farage. If he stood down a significant number of candidates, all of a sudden the Brexit party isn't perhaps considered the national force that it once was.
Do you think that that is because Downing Street checkmated them?
I think Nigel Farage had to look at his ultimate outcome, which is achieving Brexit, and he knew that if he stood in every seat and Boris Johnson didn't get a majority and people pored over those results and said, if the Brexit party hadn't stood here, here and here, there would have been a majority for Brexit. I think he was looking forward to that result. So I think that's the reason why he decided to withdraw some candidates.
Now, let's look at the policy announcement that came yesterday from Labour. And as Ben Chu says, you know, in and of itself, nationalisation or denationalisation are not particular credos. But did it excite or terrify, do you think?
Me personally?
Yeah. Generally, the idea of it, was it a kind of major, it was a bit of excitement in the campaign?
It was. Well, for me, it was the political moment of the week and of the campaign of the week, because people weren't expecting it. And there have been a lot of quite radical policies that Labour have trailed over the last few weeks and months. Actually, free broadband for all and nationalisation of BT Openreach wasn't one of them. So it was a genuine surprise. I think it's caused a bit of excitement, but also a bit of panic amongst some parts of Britain's business community. I don't think Labour will be particularly bothered by that reaction, because for them, they wanted to use this announcement to make the agenda of the election about what they want to talk about. For the Tories, they want to talk about Brexit. Labour wants to talk about anything but Brexit. Yeah. And so we saw Boris Johnson stand in front of his bus today, get Brexit done. Everyone's talking about Labour's announcement. So for Labour, whether, you know, it's businesses saying this is dreadful or people saying, oh, we quite like this idea, or, you know, there may be lots of voters in between, it's a success for them because they're getting people talking about something that they want the country to be talking about.
And of course, particularly the younger generation who absolutely gets that whole idea of super fast broadband. They understand the importance of that.
It's this amazing sort of mashup of old and new, because it's new, it's broadband, it's exciting, it's connectivity, and it's old because we want the state to control it. And they're sort of counting on people not having long enough memories to remember what it was like when the state did control a telecoms company and people waited months to have a telephone installed. The other thing about it is that it's really, and this is why I think that it's had so much resonance, is it's really easy to understand. Free broadband, you can put that on a bus.
What's not quite so easy to understand is how it's going to be delivered to every house in every rural community.
And also it's
free by 2030.
It's not free. It's paid for by taxpayers. We should be calling it taxpayer-funded broadband. 20 billion just to take over Openreach. It's not free, but it is catchy.
And the 20 billion is actually a significant amount of investment, but it's investment that Labour and lots of people would argue is needed because we lag lots of our international competitors on access to fast
when
fibre
it comes to a kind of a change of direction or change of tone of the campaign, because what we're going to have next week are the first of the television debates. It's an ITV debate on Tuesday. Jeremy Corbyn head-to-head with Boris Johnson. Now, Boris Johnson's had a few missteps. How do you think he's going to play this?
I don't know how he's going to play it because you never know which Boris you're going to get. I know how he should play it.
How should you tell him?
Be statesmanlike, be a prime minister. He's not actually been that good at it so far. He's been very bombastic. He's been quite childish at times. He's also kind of lost it in one-on-one interactions with voters. But if he can show that he is a statesman, that he is the prime minister, compared to someone who many people in this country have significant concerns about on the world stage, that's what could win it for him.
I agree with you, Rachel. I think that's what he should come out and do. But I think we're all going to see a particular Boris, the one that we've seen in the campaign so far. I think it's very difficult for Boris Johnson to come out and appear statesman-like. It's just not his natural.
But how should Jeremy Corbyn play that then? I mean, if he wants to destabilise Boris Johnson, how should he do it?
I think actually by remaining quite calm, by trying to pull the debate back to the areas that Labour wants to be talking about, things like the NHS, the dreadful statistics that we've seen come out this week about waiting times being the highest they've ever been, talking about the broadband announcement. I think that's how he'll try and play it.
Thank you both very much. That's all we have time for tonight. Please do not miss Emily's interview with Prince Andrew tomorrow night at 9 o'clock on BBC Two. From all of us here, a very good night.